Why did the whole Cats movie not just use this filter? It's so much less terrifying. So I have seen Tom Hooper's Cats, which is based on the Andrew Lloyd Webber musical stage sensation, which in itself is based on a T.S. Eliot poem, I believe. And the movie is about a group of cats competing with each other through song to see who gets to kill themselves. What? Now, the internet has been in kind of a frenzy over this movie, kind of since it was first announced, but primarily once the first trailer was released and we got to see what this movie was actually gonna look like. And it was a little bit terrifying, but I was optimistic about the film. I'm a fan of Tom Hooper. I might be the only fan of Tom Hooper, but I'm a fan of Tom Hooper as a director. And I wanted to see what he would do with this because he's an incredibly abstract, creative person. He makes weird decisions. He makes, takes kind of conventional movies and does really strange things with them. So I was keen to see what he was going to do with this movie. I remained optimistic. And I wish that I could unsee it. Now, I don't want to be terrible to this movie. I don't want to just dunk on it because I understand how impossible this task is. I haven't seen the musical Cats. I do want to see the stage musical. But I think you've got this inherent thing, and this immediately applies to the movie, is that when you're seeing something on stage, you're seeing part of the reality and then you imagine the rest. It's part of that visceral experience of being there where you get to conjure the image. I think there's a very, the fact that it's people in cats costumes, you're just like, oh, okay, they're cats. And you kind of imagine that. You know that they're people, but it's just, you create that space in your head. That's kind of the joy of theatre. It's one of the things I love about it so much. But in this movie, you physically have to see it. It's forced point perspective of film. The camera catches everything. It captures the physical location. It captures the physical characters. And so it was an impossible task for them to decide how they're going to do this. And the thing that they chose was, I think, universally is seen as a terrible idea. I mean, it is horrifying. I was wondering how long I was going to watch this movie for. Maybe 20 minutes in, the uncanny valley will fall away and I will just start to vibe with what I'm seeing. And it never stopped. It never stopped. It was terrifying for the entire hour and 45 minutes or whatever that this film went for, distractingly so. And the film already, Cats as a musical, gives you very little to grasp onto. It's completely sung through. So it's all storytelling through the singing. There's actually not a lot else of character stuff to grab onto. And Cats is a very eclectic musical from what I gather. It's very much introduce a character, the character sings about who they are, and then we move on to the next character and, I guess, set piece. And this film is doing that the whole time. And so there's nothing to really ground me in it. There's not actually a lot of characters kind of singing about who they are, but not a lot in terms of kind of conventional film storytelling, character arcs, character drive, character motivations. There is some of that. And when it was present, I clung to that with claws. I was like, I need this. I'm holding on to it as tight as possible. But everything else around it, this might be one of the most poorly kind of misconceived films I have ever seen. I don't know what else they would have done with the cats, because I think people in costumes would have been just as weird. The whole time I'm like, oh, all these cats have got short fur. Maybe if they had longer fur, it might be less weird. And then a cat with longer fur turns up and I go, nope, just as terrifying. It's such a weird thing to see a film where I think so universally everyone is so hung up on the look of it. And it makes it really hard to dig into anything deeper underneath. I think the film just feels misguided in every possible way. And I think, there's parts of the cinematography that look really nice despite the characters, there's some really interesting handheld stuff done in a digital space with kind of completely CGI stuff that I really, really adored. I think the music is really, again, eclectic, a lot of different sounds and styles, but there is probably a little bit of joy in it. But I think the whole time I'm watching this movie, I'm sitting there like this. And I'm pretty sure most of the people in my theater were feeling the exact same way about it. It was just dead quiet and kind of any bit of comedy, particularly the stuff that came from James Corden and Rebel Wilson, two people I don't necessarily like that much. People were like, I'll take what I can get. I'll laugh at that. I'll take any form of kind of normalness amongst the chaos. Look, I'm not even talking about all the people that are in this film. You know, Jennifer Hudson, Judi Dench. We've got Idris Elba, who's easily the most terrifying part. You know, Taylor Swift, Ian McKellen, Jason Derulo. There's a lot of people in this movie, and it's just so weird. It's just, I think everyone there's, you know, singing fantastically for the most part. Ian McKellen was very bizarre, but I think everyone's kind of singing their heart out. They're really getting into it, but just everything that's put on over the top of that, as in the CGI, like the CGI isn't actually that, I didn't think it was like low quality. I think there's a lot of work that's gone into it. It's just one of those things where you can't exactly save poor designs. I think, look, there's not that much that I can say about Cats overall. I think that's kind of how I feel about it as a whole. No matter how much kind of skill and talent might have surrounded this film, you can't save what was never going to work in the first place. I think there's a fundamental kind of disconnect between what Cats is, what makes it work as a stage musical. You imagining these vividly sung stories versus just, oh, we're just in an alleyway and the person is singing, and it kind of takes away the ability to visualize in that space what they're doing. And I think that is the fundamental disconnect, you know, that and the absolutely horrifying CGI. I took my mum with me to see this movie, which was bizarre for many reasons. One of them also being that Cats is an incredibly horny movie. It is weirdly sexual and it was just uncomfortable the whole time. But I can basically sum up my Cats experience by the fact that after I got home from seeing the movie, I immediately texted my mother and said, I am so very sorry about that. And yeah, look, I've seen Cats and I don't think I can unsee it. I've just got to live with it now. So those are my thoughts on Cats. Have you seen it yet? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you like this video? Well, of course you did. You can subscribe to my other channel, Loverboy, down there somewhere. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. You can also help support this channel on Patreon. Thank you so much to anyone doing that already. We could not do this without you. I saw Cats. I wanted to see it, and I regret that now. I hope that some people out there enjoy it, but I can never unsee it. And I can't get it out of my head. So I will see you again soon, hopefully a little less shaken and haunted.